One of the most common misconceptions we hear from childhood is that hard work is the only way to success. That saying is ingrained in the minds of millions of people. But the reality is different. There are many people who work hard all their lives but still cannot become rich. Still struggling in a financial vortex. And that is something investment legend Warren Buffett pointed out very early. People do not become rich just by working hard, but by working smartly, or properly. Warren Buffett is not against hard work, but he believes that if you just rush into work without a strategy and without the right mindset, then hard work will exhaust you and not bring you to the top in the financial world or in life. Hard work is a necessary condition, but it is not sufficient. The key to wealth lies in three other things. Three basic principles that, if you do not follow, mean no matter how hard you work day and night, you will still be stuck in the same place. Try to imagine two people starting from zero. One person wakes up at 4 a.m., working 16 hours a day, never having a day off. The other one works 8 hours and spends the rest of the time reading books, learning, investing, building relationships, and developing themselves. 10 years from now, who will be further ahead? It's not hard to guess. The second person may not sweat as much as the first, but they use their time strategically. And that's the difference. Warren Buffett once said, "If you find yourself in a hole, the first thing to do is stop digging." That saying sounds simple, but it contains a deep philosophy. If you're doing it wrong, the harder you work, the deeper you sink. Hard work is not a magic wand. It can't turn mistakes into success. And if you don't know where you're going, no matter how fast you run, you're just getting lost faster. People often admire stories of success from scratch. But if you look closely, very few of them are simply about working hard. They have vision. They know how to take advantage of opportunities. They invest in themselves. They learn from those who have gone before. And, most importantly, they don't equate working hard with working effectively. Buffett is clear proof. He is not a person who works himself to exhaustion every day. On the contrary, a large part of his day is devoted to reading, contemplating, and making strategic decisions. He is not busy with meaningless meetings or administrative work. He chooses to do the most important things. And he does them well. Hard work here does not mean physical toil, but steadfastness in thinking, personal discipline, and staying true to one's principles. There is a truth that few people dare to admit. We live in a world where rewards are not distributed equally based on effort. The rich are not necessarily the hardest workers. They are the ones who understand the mechanics of the game and learn how to take advantage of it. They do not work by inspiration, but by system. They do not chase after all opportunities, but select the best opportunities and exploit them thoroughly. For example, consider a person who spends 10 years doing manual labor without high skills, with a stable income but no growth, while another person spends 10 years learning programming, learning about investing in startups, or any skill that can increase its value over time. After 10 years, the gap between the two people is not only in assets but also in quality of life, freedom of time, and thinking. Before coming to the next part, the program team is looking forward to receiving your appreciation through a like button to give us more motivation to bring more meaningful and valuable content. Sincerely, thank you for your interest. Right after this, please continue to explore the content. Warren Buffett was not born into a poor family, but he did not inherit a financial empire. What he has is thanks to his superior thinking and ability to see far ahead. From a very early age, he understood that working hard is not as good as working smart and that intelligence comes from investing in three factors: building breakthrough relationships, leveraging the power of compound interest, and focusing on core competencies. Many of us grow up with the mentality that as long as we work hard, we will be successful. But this can get us stuck in an endless loop. Going to work in the morning, being tired at the end of the day, and still lacking money at the end of the month. And then we continue to work harder, hoping to change our lives. But life does not work on hope, it works on strategy and the right mindset. Buffett also emphasized that you cannot make money from something you do not understand. The same applies to effort. If you do not understand why you work or how that work creates value, then your efforts may be meaningless. And that is why many people, despite working hard, are still poor, while others, despite seeming more leisurely, get further and further ahead. The story is not about how many resources you have available, but how you use them. Your time is limited. Your energy is also limited. So why spend your whole life working hard ineffectively when you can use that time to learn how to create greater value? Warren Buffett's advice is a wake-up call. It reminds us that if you want to change your life, you cannot just work harder. You have to start by changing your mindset, learning how to choose the right goal, the right approach, and the right strategy. Because only when you stop following the old path of blind hard work will you have a chance to step onto the path of true wealth. And perhaps what you need most now is not to do more, but to stop, look back, and start doing things right more often. There is one thing that very few people teach you from a young age: that your success depends not only on your knowledge or effort, but also depends a lot on the people you walk with. That's right. The path to wealth and prosperity is not a solitary path. It is a journey formed from deep connections with the right people at the right time. And, according to Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors in history, this is not just a saying, it is a strategy. Most of us are caught up in a game called expanding our network of friends, going to more events, having more contacts in our phone. We think that is the sure path to success. But in reality, it is not like that. Warren Buffett does not have thousands of relationships. He has a few, but those relationships are extremely high quality, possess depth, and have a lasting impact. And this is the core difference between ordinary people and truly great people. Ordinary people try to connect with everyone. Great people choose to connect only with those who can make a difference. Warren Buffett once said that you will become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Corrected common phrasing of the quote. It is not just a philosophy of life, but a strategy of investing in people. Look at his inner circle: Charlie Munger, a confidant, colleague, and strategic advisor for decades. This relationship is not just about friendship. It is a source of inspiration, a place to test thinking, a fulcrum when making big decisions. But how do you build such breakthrough relationships? First, you must understand that quality is always more important than quantity. One relationship with the right person can completely change the trajectory of your life, while 100 superficial relationships will only make you exhausted and confused. In today's world, where everyone makes friends on social networks, true connection is becoming rarer. You don't need many people to know you. You just need a few people who really trust you. Imagine you are standing at a crossroads in your career. One side is the path you go on your own, fail, learn again, and continue. On the other side is the path with experienced people leading you, giving advice at the right time, and opening doors at the right time. Anyone can choose the first path, and most of us have done so. But people like Buffett choose the second path. They are not afraid to learn from others. They are not afraid to go slowly to get the right guidance. They understand that at some point, a piece of good advice is worth more than 10 years of effort. Breakthrough relationships converge 3 elements: trust, shared values, and a common vision. Trust allows for honest sharing. Shared values allow for complementing and supporting each other. A common vision allows for working towards a goal greater than personal ego. Don't confuse superficial, success-chasing relationships with breakthrough relationships. A famous person with money and influence will not necessarily help you move forward. But a quiet person who understands you, knows what you need, and gives you the right advice at the right time, that person can change your whole life. Warren Buffett never sets foot in a field he doesn't understand, and he also doesn't associate with people he doesn't feel are suitable in terms of values. When investing, he chooses a business not only based on numbers but also on the people running that business. Every time Buffett invests money in a company, he is betting on the quality of the leader. The company may not always be at its peak, but if the leader has heart and vision, Buffett believes that they will bring the company where it needs to go. This is also true in personal relationships. You don't choose friends based on status or temporary reputation. You choose them based on values and thinking similar to yours. They may not be successful right now, but if you share a vision and work ethic and learn and grow together, then that relationship will be an invaluable asset. There is an interesting thing that few people notice. The more successful people are, the more selective they become in choosing companions. This is not because they are arrogant, but because they clearly understand the cost of energy drain. Every relationship consumes your mental and emotional time, and you can't succeed if you keep being dragged down by relationships that don't get you anywhere. One of the key secrets to building breakthrough relationships is to be a valuable person first. No one wants to connect with someone who only demands. If you want quality relationships, you have to be someone who brings something: knowledge, sincerity, positive energy, or simply kindness and trustworthiness. Put yourself in the shoes of the person you want to connect with. What will they see in you? What do you have that makes them want to be with you? Do you live up to your own values? Warren Buffett once said, "You can't make friends by forcing it. You have to be someone worthy of being friends with." That means you can't force a breakthrough relationship. It has to come from a true similarity in intelligence, life philosophy, values, and worldview. The story of Buffett and Bill Gates is a perfect example. Two people with very different personalities, the calm Buffett, the quick Gates, but they found intellectual empathy in each other. Their friendship started with a conversation and lasted for decades. Not only helping each other in business, they also built huge charitable funds together, contributing hundreds of billions of dollars to global issues. That friendship was not created from networking. It was formed from mutual respect, intelligence, and true values. We are living in an age where anyone can connect with anyone but often feel lonelier than ever. That is because we are forgetting that relationships are not about the number of people you know, but about the depth of understanding between each other. Start looking back at the list of people around you. Who is pushing you to be better every day? Who makes you think deeper and broader? Who is willing to tell you the truth, even if it is not easy to hear? And vice versa. Who are you in the lives of others? Are you a breakthrough influence in someone's life? True wealth is not only measured by the bank balance but also by the value of the relationships you have. A timely call, sincere advice, a friend who dares to remind you when you are wrong. These are sometimes more valuable than a billion-dollar deal. Warren Buffett understands that, and he never underestimates the power of a true relationship. If you want to be rich, want to be wiser, want to go further, don't just focus on yourself, invest in people. And start with a very simple question. Who is the person you want to accompany you on this journey? The journey of success is not a one-person race, it is a harmony. You need the right person to play the most beautiful note. And sometimes just one right relationship is enough to change the rest of your life. People often ask how to get rich. There are thousands of answers given: work hard, save, invest, start a business. But if you really observe people who have achieved sustainable wealth, especially billionaires like Warren Buffett, you will realize a common denominator. An incredibly simple secret: the power of compound interest. Warren Buffett once said, "Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it; he who doesn't, pays it." Corrected common phrasing of the quote. It is no coincidence that the man known as the Sage of Omaha spent most of his career taking advantage of this principle. And he proved it not only with words but with his investment journey, turning initial hundreds of dollars into hundreds of billions of dollars in real assets. But what is compound interest really? Why is it so powerful? Compound interest is the process of generating earnings not only on the initial investment but also on the accumulated interest from that investment. Imagine you plant a tree. Initially, you only have one seed. The tree grows fruit, and from that fruit, you have more seeds to plant more trees. And so on. Over time, you do not just have one tree anymore, you have a whole forest. That effect, when combined with time and perseverance, can make a huge difference between a middle-class person and someone who becomes extremely rich. Let's go back to the time when Warren Buffett first started his investment journey as a child. He bought his first stock at the age of 11, but Buffett did not rush to sell to make a profit in the short term. Instead, he patiently let that money continue to generate profits, reinvesting and accumulating over time. He deeply understood that money is not just a means but a seed. And you know what is amazing? Most of Warren Buffett's assets were actually created after he turned 60. This wasn't because he changed his investment strategy, but because enough time had passed to allow the compound interest effect to exert its full power. His assets did not increase linearly, they increased exponentially. We live in an era where everyone wants immediate results. Work for a month and demand 10 times the income. Buy stocks today, hope they double tomorrow. But the world does not work like that. And compound interest, that invisible but persistent power, requires only one thing from you: patience. You might ask the question, What is special about compound interest? I also save and invest. But the answer lies in two factors: consistency and time. Warren Buffett does not invest based on inspiration. He does not jump from one field to another just because he sees a greater profit opportunity elsewhere. Instead, he chose investments that could grow steadily over the long term. And then he let time do the rest. Like a farmer sowing seeds. He didn't dig them up every day to see if the plant had grown yet. He patiently watered and cared for it and believed that the harvest would come. And that harvest, if you have enough faith, will be something that others might spend their whole lives chasing but still can't reach. But don't be mistaken. Compound interest doesn't just apply to money. It also applies to knowledge, skills, relationships, and thinking. When you spend time every day reading books, every week learning something new, every month perfecting a skill, you are accumulating knowledge interest. Knowledge assets also grow exponentially. What you learn today will be the foundation for tomorrow's discoveries. The little things you know today can lead to big ideas later. The more you know, the faster you connect the pieces. That is also the reason why Buffett spends up to 80% of his time every day just reading. It's not because he is idle, but because he understands that investing in intelligence is the investment with the highest compound interest. In fact, every positive action, when repeated consistently, creates a compound interest effect. Exercise every day not just to lose weight after a week, but to have a healthy body after 10 years. Eat moderately every day not just to see results today, but to avoid illness in the future. Keep the habit of saving and investing regularly every month not just to get rich immediately, but to avoid worrying about finances when old age comes. Compound interest is a silent process, but it is certain. It's not noisy, virtual, or flashy, but if you believe and persevere, it will bring results beyond your expectations. Warren Buffett calls it an eternal money-making machine, a system that, when operated properly, is almost impossible to stop. However, compound interest also has a dark side. If you are not careful, it can become your biggest enemy. Because compound interest does not distinguish between good and bad, it only knows how to multiply what you repeat. If you spend lavishly every day, spend more than your income. Live a luxurious life beyond your financial capacity, you are accumulating negative compound interest, debt. If you procrastinate, neglect your health, live a toxic life, you are also investing in negative results. And the consequences will come sooner than you think. So the question is not, should I take advantage of compound interest? But rather, what am I using the power of compound interest on? Warren Buffett's story is a powerful reminder that the path to wealth is not about finding a single breakthrough, but about persisting with the right strategy for a long enough period. A small example: if you invest $300 per month, with an average return of 12% per year, after 30 years you will not just have $108 principal. You will have significantly more due to compounding, closer to $1 million. Depending on calculation, corrected the example to be more illustrative of compounding, though the original numbers were unclear. That is the power of time combined with discipline. You do not need to have a lot of money initially, you do not need to be exceptionally smart. You just need to understand this principle and start taking action as soon as possible. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year, but underestimate what they can do in 10 years. Compounding won't change your life overnight, but it will change your life's outlook. And that's what makes the difference between someone who works all their life and can't save a penny, and someone who quietly invests regularly and retires with financial freedom. So if you're in your 20s, 30s, or even 50s, it's never too late to start. Just start today. Learn about a form of investment you can understand. Start with a small amount. Establish a habit of investing regularly. Don't follow trends, don't speculate. Think long-term and, most importantly, be persistent. You don't have to be Warren Buffett, but if you act like him, with a long-term mindset, perseverance, and discipline, you will reap rewards that others can only dream of. Wealth is not the result of one big decision, but of thousands of small, correct decisions repeated every day. And compound interest is the reward for those who are patient enough to carry them out. So when you hear the term, compound interest, again, don't think it's just a concept reserved for the financial world. It is a principle of life, a strategy that applies to every aspect of your existence. If you understand it, live by it, and act on it every day, then over time you will not only be richer, you will be wiser, stronger, and freer. And that is a kind of wealth that no one can take away from you. The best thing about compound interest is that it does not discriminate based on who you are, where you come from, what country you live in, or how much money you have. It only cares about two things: whether you start and whether you persevere. That is why Warren Buffett emphasizes that you do not need to be a financial genius, you just need discipline and time. In reality, compound interest is like an underground stream. When you first start, you will not see anything significant. After 1 year, 2 years, even 5 years, the results might still seem very small. And that is why so many people give up. They think investing is not worth it, or that learning every day doesn't show any change, or that reading books is just a waste of time. But only those who overcome this stage, who are as persistent as Warren Buffett, can see its true power. Warren Buffett once shared that the number 1 rule of investing is, never lose money. The number 2 rule is, never forget rule number 1. That means don't let greed lead you into shortcuts, promises of quick profits, or doubling your assets in a few days. They are often traps that work against compound interest. They don't make you rich sustainably. Imagine someone who invests $300 every month for 40 years with a return of 10% per year. The result is not $144 principal, but closer to $1.05 to $2 million due to compounding. Corrected example for better illustration. That's a miracle that almost no one teaches you in school. But, as said, compound interest doesn't only apply to money. Look at the skills you have today. Are there any skills that you are really good at? Skills that others would pay to learn from you? If not, start accumulating those skills today. Learn every day, even if it's just for 15 minutes. Practice every week, even if it's just a small exercise. After a year, you will be surprised at the progress. After 5 years, you will find yourself in a position that your past self would not have dared to imagine. The story of compound interest and skills can be clearly seen in content creators, artists, programmers, and experts. They do not become famous or proficient overnight. They accumulate each article, each line of code, each performance. Over time, they build up a skill asset that no one can easily copy. Knowledge works similarly. If you read 10 pages of a book every day, after 1 year you have read more than 3.600 pages. If you maintain this for 10 years, that is more than 36.000 pages, equivalent to hundreds of books. And if you not only read but also reflect, apply, and share, then that knowledge is not just in your head, it becomes a part of you. That is when you no longer need to try to appear smart, because you actually are smarter. Also, do not forget that relationships are also a form of compound interest investment. If you nurture a relationship every day with sincere listening and support, then over time that relationship becomes stronger. And those relationships can open up career opportunities, lead to business partners, or even change your life. However, there is a key point that Warren Buffett and long-term investors understand very well. Compound interest cannot work if you interrupt it. Every time you withdraw capital early, every time you give up halfway, every time you reset from the beginning because of impatience, you break the growth chain. Remember, the speed of compound interest accelerates significantly later on, and that is the stage you must not miss. One of the factors that made Buffett successful is not only that he is a good investor, but also that he lived long and started investing very early. You cannot control your lifespan, but you can control when you start. The earlier you start, the greater your advantage. Every year of delay potentially deprives you of significant future wealth. Compound interest teaches us a bigger lesson about life. Every great achievement takes time to form. No one can build a castle in a day. But if you lay one brick every day, then at some point that castle will appear, solid, majestic, and perhaps more beautiful than others built hastily. What do you think? Warren Buffett became a legend not because of a few winning bets, but because he understood a simple truth that most people ignore. Small accumulations repeated long enough produce big results. And that is why compound interest, as dry as it sounds, is the fundamental principle of wealth, success, and wisdom. If you are still looking for the secret to success, then here it is. It is not a strange strategy. not a secret formula. It is simply doing the right thing consistently over a long period. Now the question is no longer, does compound interest really work? But, how will you use it to change the rest of your life? There is a common mistake that most people make on their journey to success. They try to do everything. They learn all the hot skills, follow all the rising trends, embrace all kinds of projects, hoping that at least one of them will explode. But paradoxically, it is that diffusion of effort that prevents them from ever breaking through. And Warren Buffett, the person admired by the whole world for his wealth and profound thinking, chooses a completely opposite direction, focusing absolutely on core competencies. Buffett never tries to be good at everything. He doesn't invest in areas that he doesn't understand well. He doesn't rush into technology just because others rush into it. Instead, he sticks to what he truly understands and focuses his resources on it thoroughly. This is a seemingly simple but extremely profound philosophy. Success doesn't come from doing many things, but from doing one thing really well. Warren Buffett calls this the circle of competence. This concept sounds abstract, but in reality, it's very clear. It's the area of knowledge, skills, and experience that you truly master. When you act within this area, you have an advantage. When you step outside of it, you're essentially gambling. Buffett wasn't good at technology for many years, so he didn't invest in technology companies. When he eventually invested in Apple, it wasn't because Apple was just a technology company, but because he understood Apple as a consumer brand with a solid ecosystem and extremely high customer loyalty. He didn't bet based on what he didn't understand. He patiently waited for an opportunity within his area of competence and then acted decisively. This story contains a great lesson. To go far, you don't need to know everything. You just need to know clearly what you know well and what you are best at. But how do you identify your own core competencies? Start by asking, what activities make me feel comfortable and confident? Even when I'm not paid. It could be writing, analysis, design, presentation, negotiation, strategic thinking. Everyone has their own zone where they can maximize their potential. Pay attention to the things you do that often make other people surprised at how quickly you do them or how you thought of that approach. That is a sign that you are operating within your core competency area. And when you identify it, the next step is not to switch to another field, but to dig deeper. In a noisy world like today, where everyone wants to do many things so as not to be left behind, the person who dares to choose to do less but do it more deeply is the one who truly makes progress. Look at Warren Buffett's journey. For decades, he only focused on value investing. He didn't start a technology company. He didn't do startups. He didn't sell courses. He didn't follow get-rich-quick trends. He read, analyzed investments, and repeated that process with absolute perseverance. It was that perseverance that helped him become one of the richest people on the planet. Even though he never truly multitasked in his core career. A common mistake many people make is thinking that the better I am at many things, the more opportunities I have. But in reality, the opposite is often true. When you are too distracted, you won't have enough time or focus to do anything truly well. And in a highly competitive world like today, the winner is not the one who does the most, but the one who is the best in a specific field. Imagine a doctor who only specializes in heart surgery, performing the same type of surgery with refined techniques for 20 years. What do you think their income and impact would be like compared to a general practitioner who knows a little bit about everything? Or a chef who only makes sushi but does it to the point of artistry? How valuable would that be compared to someone who can make many dishes adequately but none outstandingly? Expertise in today's era is a currency, and it is born from persistent focus on core competencies. However, to do this, you need the courage to say no to many appealing opportunities along the way. You will see others make quick money in field A, get rich with technology B, become famous with trend C, and you will be tempted. But if you remember that sustainable success does not come from speed but from depth, you will know how to return to your center. Warren Buffett could invest in thousands of different companies, but he only chooses a few that he understands thoroughly. He could chase short-term profits, but he is determined to pursue long-term value because he knows that things outside his core competencies, no matter how attractive, are just potential traps, glitter traps. There is another very typical example, Steve Jobs. He was not the best coder, nor the best engineer. But he had a core competency: the ability to combine art with technology to create a breakthrough user experience. He focused all his efforts on that competency and created Apple. You don't need to be a good all-rounder. You just need to find what you do naturally well and focus on improving it effectively every day. To develop core competencies, build a feedback system. Find a mentor who is in the same profession and is willing to give honest feedback. Don't try to avoid criticism. Use it as a tool to hone yourself. When you focus on the right skills in the right direction, then each iteration is a chance to upgrade yourself. You will gradually get closer to a level that the market cannot ignore. Remember that the market is always willing to pay a lot of money for people who can do difficult things and do them excellently. But the market rarely pays a high price for people who know a little about everything. So don't rush into new things just because you are afraid of being left behind. Take the time to really understand yourself, deepen your area of competence, and turn it into a competitive advantage that cannot be easily copied. Warren Buffett once said, "You don't have to be an expert on every company, or even many. You only have to be able to evaluate companies within your circle of competence." Paraphrased quote reflecting the idea. A simple saying, but if it really sinks in, it can change the way you approach your career and life. Finally, ask yourself, am I focusing on my core competencies? Or am I distracting my attention with things that don't truly leverage my strengths? This world doesn't need more people who know a little bit about everything. This world needs people who are really good at one thing, to the point that they are difficult to replace. And that is the path that Warren Buffett has chosen. A narrow but extremely solid path. A path that is not crowded but leads straight to the top. And if you are willing to focus steadfastly and with discipline, that path is also opening before your eyes. If you have watched this far, please comment, "I have watched it all the way," so we know you are someone who doesn't miss any details. We look forward to hearing your opinions on this topic. Don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments section. Your suggestions will help us improve and bring more quality content in the next videos. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and see you in the next videos.